All right, folks, we should be good to go. Welcome on back for another fantastic edition of our Traders Talk Workshop. This Monday simulcast inside our live trading room cyber group. And for all of us inside our live trading room, should be good to go. Had a small tech issue, little hiccup early. Took care of it though. Abdul, Grant, Dominic, Margaret, Dave, Alan, Sam. Got Phil, Kathleen, Jeff, Philip M. Got Gillis, Lee, got Danny, got Full House. As always, each and every weekday, let alone here each and every Monday in our Traders Talk Workshop. All of us back on social media, though, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, the works popping up on the lower left here, hopefully without any typos, at Cyber Trading U. Be a friend, tell a friend that we got a YouTube channel here. Always look to spread the good word of what we teach, what we preach and teach, that being to follow the smart money. This is actually a great example. Go over it right now really quick. This stock is just not going anywhere at this point. This thing's in the dumps at this point here. PRME, Prime Medicine. Let me ask to begin, did anyone trade inside our live trading room? This is Margaret, Grant, Abdul. Anyone here live inside our trading room? Did anyone get their hands in on this Prime trade earlier today? Hopefully they're still not in it, but if you had gotten in on this stock on the run up and we were calling it out at least, let me know. Gillis, Lee, both of you took it. Very nice. Where'd you get in and out on this trade, if you don't mind me asking there? I know we cover that more in our coaching program, one-on-one, myself and Gillis, myself and Lee, students actively with us here. But let me know how you did on this trade here. But as they let me know, and we kind of covered this a bit in our class just earlier before, we're not going to go much further really from this, just from this point. But for everyone else though, Sam, Kathleen, Barbara, Danny, I see Brad, I see Michael here joining us. What time do stocks reverse? What time do we typically see stocks look to reverse, pull back, go the other way? What do we got, folks? Lee took 10 cents. Charlene got a small win. Very nice from her as well. Gillis got stopped out, hopefully with a win there at least. But everyone's saying, stocks typically reverse 10:15, 10:30 Eastern time, right? So break out your volume bars here first. Should have had those up. But otherwise, yeah, like 10:20 in the morning, 10:25, 10:30 was building the lower high at this point. So we like to make it like around 10:30, give or take 15 minutes. Maybe, on the side of 10:15 to 10:30 on a healthier day within the overall market, maybe like 10:30 to 10:45. Either way you cut it, this stock just broke a trend line off the lows here, is crashing down. What are you really asking for here at this point by trying to hold on? Do you really think it's going to keep going up until like 12 o'clock, 11:30 Eastern time? If so, you could try and get back in on the same trade again. And the key to that is exactly what we had just covered in our phase 2 stock course earlier today. So students like Michael, Abdul, Grant, Gillis, Lee, Kathleen, majority of our students here are phase 2 and above. You have access to that class if you'd missed out. But basically, 1 + 1 = 2 here. 10:30, this stock had basically was making its reversal at that point, 10:15 to 10:30. So you had plenty of time to take the money and you had plenty of time to get out before it really went, sour, before it really pulled back. But this was actually a good stock to go over because, funny enough, this to a degree is or was a meme stock. I don't know if you knew that. I don't know if you knew that this was a meme stock from earlier today. Don't check Reddit. Don't check social media right now. Just trust me when I tell you this. And here's what I mean, because I had actually a question, a student chat me about this earlier today. I told me a Traders Talk coming up. A few questions came in through private chat earlier, so we'll get to them in just a bit. One, though, is in regards to a meme stock, asking like, well, why are you calling it a meme stock? What makes it a meme stock? Okay. So really quick, just first and foremost, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. We got a mixed bag of traders here and students and traders joining us here in terms of their background, how long they've been trading, age altogether. We have younger traders. We have some older traders that, hey, we're all doing the same thing. But let me ask everyone here and inside our live trading room and on social media, do you know what a meme is? Do you know what a meme is? M-E-M-E. Do you know what a meme is? Let me know. Yes or no? And don't worry if you don't know. Trust me, it's not as if it's like, oh, you should have known. Just let me know, yes or no. Do you know what a meme is? On social media, you might see what's called a meme. You might hear people talking about them. You might hear me and Fausto call stocks meme stocks. A lot of us in the room saying no. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, a meme. It's basically like a funny online joke, and it's more like using a picture, more using a little tiny video. It might be like a little 5-second video. It might be like a little picture that people will look to like dub a comment over, make like a little funny, like play on words, play on the picture, whatever it is. Now, the reason it's called a meme is because when GameStop and AMC took off, a number of years back, 4 or 5 years ago at this point, everyone on Reddit was making memes about it. AMC took off. People were like, making funny pictures and jokes about making money and then about losing it all, and about people holding on to a big losing bag, kind of like thrown in their face a little bit. So, it's kind of the online community, basically, like to make fun of certain things. But, when GameStop pumped back in 2021, Reddit exploded. You had all these people making these pictures, making these memes. Okay, now, 4 or 5 years later, it translates to us right now where basically you're seeing a bunch of stocks make these moves up and down. And on social media, people talk about them here and there. Okay, that could be any stock. That could be legitimately any stock in the world, right? Like, why does it have to be GameStop or AMC or this one, Prime? Okay. So for anyone here that has kids or maybe grandkids on top, you might, kind of recognize the name Prime or PRME. Is there anyone here that's familiar? It's like the new emerging sports drink. It's called Prime Energy, Prime Sports Drink. It's with the social media guy, Logan Paul, if you're familiar with him. So, if you're a Logan Paul guy that does the boxing and the wrestling, it's his drink. But basically, it's like catering to the new generation, the new kids on the block right now. And basically, well, hey, you have this mega star, Logan Paul, and this energy drink Prime. This company has literally 0.0% to do with Logan Paul and Prime, just to let you know. However, hey, when this company, PRME, starts popping off of whatever its own news is, you're going to see people on social media saying, oh, it's Prime, it's Logan Paul. And like, because of how big of a following that guy has, if you look him up, there's like hundreds of millions of followers. It's like a male Taylor Swift to a degree. But otherwise, just to say, I said in terms of like the followers, the engagement, all that, but just otherwise, you probably had a bunch of people online like, oh, it's a meme stock, posting the memes and all that on Reddit. Well, as much as we were shouting that out, and we're saying like, yeah, it could be, yeah, this could be a meme stock, like this could really take off. Let's see where we have our next big resistance here on the daily chart, right? And probably say kind of right around here, we had prior support back from June, end of June into July. What price is that? Oh, what is that? $5? Oh, okay. 1 + 1 = 2. You know what I mean? It's like, for a stock to break below big support like that and it crashes, the first time it's moving back up there, you got to expect for that to be resistance, no? So that's where normally, you should expect to see a pop and drop or at least a clean hold. Not only was that a daily chart level, but normally anyways, a whole number price, like a psychological level, $5 bill, US currency, we kind of talk about those round abstract type of numbers. So that's where otherwise this ended up having the Christmas tree formation after. It's like the Burj Khalifa almost. It's like a steep, went up, went down, one side green, one side red, bingo, bango, that's it. Really quick on social media, going to try something new here on Traders Talk. Just if you're joining us on social media here, get that view up there for a little bit. All right, cool. So otherwise for Prime, as much of a meme stock as we thought this would be, and it can be, hey, we did well on this trade. Ended up getting in from 450. First half, my position got out underneath 470, like on a shake. And then the second half, it was right underneath 5. It was at like 496, 497. Take the money and run. 1030 or so, reversal time. So you can't force it. Maybe if it keeps really holding here throughout the morning, the more times it can nip and test this level, there's a chance for this resistance to flip. But if not, then this is the end result. This is what happens more often than not to any of the trades that we call out from the gainers list, let alone stocks that are branded as meme stocks. So for anyone new to trading, meme stocks, as like fun as they could be, like the day trading volatile type of stocks, it could be the AMCs, the GameStops, and just the high flying percent gainers. Even this stupid ZCMD from pre-market this morning or from Friday after hours even. Hey, this was a high flying move early in the morning. Don't get stuck holding on to a bag like this, right? Get out. You have the chance to get back in if the stock decides to make that push. The only issue with that, though, is that, we are focused on a number of different stocks. We're focused on a number of different trades out there. And what if we don't get back to the stock in time? And what if it takes off without us, right? Well, I think earlier today that was a good example from what we covered in class, as far as just realizing we're not going to be able to capitalize on every stock on every instance. We had a little tech hiccup this morning, tech issue inside our live trading room, and for that reason, I had missed out on UXIN. All right, well, there's other stocks on our morning watch list that we could look to trade. There's other stocks on my personal list that I was more focused on going into the open. That's actually what led me to get into the PRME trade because I had missed out on UXIN. It's a matter of okay, let's try and catch the next fish in the sea, right? It's kind of that mentality. That's all. All right. So let's get back to normal vision there. Going to mix around that kind of camera shot there. But otherwise, what we'll do is go through a couple questions otherwise that came in from email and then came in from chat. Actually, let's get to this one because I didn't really focus on Boeing as much. And this was from Friday. I missed out on this, unfortunately. So it's probably in my loop, in my zone, and I'd missed out on this. Or if I did, I meant to write back. I'm like, shit, I didn't. So from Sam, actually, from Friday, he had a question. He bought a put expiring today, which was Friday. So it's kind of I'll say it's kind of irrelevant now because unfortunately Sam's trade was expiring from Friday. So let us know how you did, Sam, on this trade at least. I'm sorry I caught this late at least, but otherwise, Sam took a put expiring from Friday on Boeing at 152 for 280 with the strike ongoing. I checked the chart and found support at 121. Through the whole week, it has been around 155 to 156 range, as in the price, with two quick dips down to 152. I couldn't find any good support level at 155 or 156 to account for this. I expected Boeing to fall through the floor with the strike and factory shutting down. Why is it holding as it is? What do you think? So again, this was from Friday. My apologies for a little tardiness on the answer here. So really from 2:49 Eastern Friday afternoon when Sam had typed over that question to me, it was pretty much around this point. So it was just a small push into the close, but otherwise, Sam was correct in the sense that this only continued to drop off more, right? So with that in mind, at least it did this morning. But question is more so, where can we find support? And as far as a reason like to account for it, I'm not as much in the know with this news and what's going on with Boeing and the strikes and the factory shutdown. If I even was, whatever I know isn't the full story. You know what I mean? So I don't know anything about this. But otherwise, even if I knew as much as I know about normal stuff I'm into, it's still not the full story. So otherwise, what we care more about is the general sentiment of where can we find big support? And that is what Sam was asking. So, let's get right to the charts here. That's always the larger talking point to me. Actually, we'll get to another trade off the top of my head. Very similar in relation to just bad news, dropping down, where can we find support? So this is a weekly chart, and this is dating back to 2014 on Boeing. Let me go back if I can, just even more. Okay, so what I like to work with is not just like strong levels that are holding clean, but also, if it's kind of a long time frame in the sense of retesting a price. So it built a top here, pulled back down. It took like, you know, 6 or 7 years for this to try and move back up and retest. So it broke this top here at 156.5, basically. Easy to say. Resistance flipped into support here, basically flipped during COVID time, and then after. It's a little high up now at this point. Obviously, that's 106. I don't know. It's going to drop all the way down. So 158 or so was a nice little peak. This one took about maybe 2 years, 2.5 years for this, peak to break. You would think, though, for as much as it ran from this peak, that you should see resistance flip at some point. We had COVID here, which obviously you can't really expect perfection in like recession, pandemic, whatever it is. So that's even here where it slid underneath this price down and up. But right now, recently, Sam, this just broke below that support line here where it likely should look to hold if you're expected to see any sort of, good momentum to the upside. So that was back from earlier last week. I think it was back on Tuesday of last week. This was on the 6th. Yeah. Oh, this is actually a weekly chart. My apologies. Getting my days and weeks mixed up right now. So let's actually flip this back to a daily chart. So this was back on September 6th. So this was back like Wednesday, whatever it may have been that day, but continued to drop off. It closed below this line on a couple of different occasions. And that is more confirmation to see this. This is even before today's move and yesterday or from Friday last week. But look at how well this held as resistance after two closes on the daily chart like this. So goes to show definitely pretty bearish even before Friday and before this morning's drop. So where the hell are we going to find support now? You'd figure 150 as like a psychological level. That's coming up next. I would assume that there's going to be a massive order on the bid. I'll tell you, it's pretty tough now because there's just a bunch of chop this thing's in, bunch of chop this thing's in, and then again, same deal, bunch of chop back in late 22. So it's really tough now at this stage to pluck a good daily chart or long-term historical level. Now I'm going into like secondary peaks right here, where it was holding a bit. Maybe that could be support. That's basically at 150. Let me actually just pull up bookmap here really quick. I'll show Boeing, and then I'll just jump to some chat here right now. See Skip here joining us today. Good to see Skip. Yeah, we got 152, 43,000 shares here on the bid. So no surprise at whole number levels. But we even had one here, actually a larger support earlier today, and it led to a pullback. Now at this point, once it breaks lower, you're likely to get 150. Got about 65, 66,000 shares sitting there on the bid. So that does line up pretty nicely, at least with this little level. But the bad news, this is going to be tough to find any good momentum for a bounce, and that's where your put trade's likely to continue to work, even as this consolidates over time. So we'll see if this just bounces off of 150 throughout the week, or if it breaks below it, closes below it, most importantly. I would say the big difference between my swing trading and my day trading is just this should be the case with honestly most people if you're doing long term or swing, but focused in on the closes of certain candles over or under your big level. I don't focus as much on that with my day trading. That's why I kind of look for the retest break kind of theory, because even if it closes over a big level on a 1 minute, 5 minute chart, I don't really get the entry I should be getting. So here, when it comes to swing trading, if you're looking for any sort of move, you want to see like a close, in Sam's case, underneath a big level. I think that was at like 158. Basically back from early September, a couple of closes at least. The more it does, that's even better. So after the second one here, just easy to say, but it held perfectly under resistance, then dropped more. Yeah, this is looking like a pretty good short. Really good move on the way down. You might have supported that 150, like we said. All right. Sam bought a weak put. I'm sorry, a week long put at 152. Also all due to the stock holding at 154. Sam says now Boeing is dropping lower. I was 1 week too quick on it. There's still time to get in on it if you know where your next level is, though. Don't just take it to take it, obviously. Easy to say that. Just now at this point, especially with the intraday side of it, focus on the retesting of 152. If you're expecting 150, then it needs to break below 152 first. Like literally bookmap just shows that point blank there. So in this case, you're not going to take it right away on the next break, but the more times it does test 152 throughout this session, there is a better chance for it to capitulate, drop lower down to 150. So, it's all about the retest theory. The retest theory, the popsicle stick theory, kind of like these names I kind of give it here and there, but it's everything that we cover in class. Skip saying, Josh, do you use Benzinga and what do you use? Absolutely, I use Benzinga. Benzinga Pro, baby. Don't mean to sound like a salesman for it, but honestly, Benzinga Pro is my livelihood when it comes to scanning the markets in the morning, the afternoon, even right now, and news feed here. So I do a little Benzinga in our phase 1 classes. I don't like to do a full tutorial and take time up in Traders Talk for it because I don't want students to think that like we're like pushing something on them. Oh, I got to buy this, buy this. No, but literally this is just part of what I used to trade with. Now for students here like Skip and like Sam and like Phil and Joyce and Abdul and all of us here, keep in mind that, yeah, it's a very powerful tool, and we do suggest for you to get it, especially when you're beginning to make money. Because, hey, I mean, for how much this costs, imagine how much more money you could be making, right? And I'm not just saying that to say that. It's really to say that this is a powerful studying tool that gives us the ability to scan the market, figure out why stocks are making the moves that they're making. But, hey, I got Benzinga Pro. Rich got Benzinga Pro. We're making the call outs here. We're driving the boat here for you. Don't forget that, right? Fausto too. But otherwise, Rich and I are primarily making the call outs here, and we are using this for you. So that means that you shouldn't feel the necessity to go out and get this because we're posting it. We're using it here all throughout the day. Even furthermore with Bookmap, we do say that with Bookmap because Rich is posting pictures of Bookmap in the chat board all throughout the day for you. So use us to your advantage. That's why we say focus on what we're calling out. Start and stick with the list, right? That's where Rich is so good at making these call outs on different stocks that are getting halted. Right now, ETGL popped up on my scanner. Look at this thing take off. It obviously was on my scanner here when it first broke out, but we're doing traders talk right now. So obviously it's just to say that it's a really good tool for anyone that, can't, isn't really in the situation to spend and pay for it. Just realize we're not pressing to get it. We use it here all the time, and you should look to follow what we're calling out. So, I kind of just say it that way. But if you already have it, you're a step ahead and you're going to be in very good hands using it. What's the monthly cost? I would suggest, Phil, for you to just contact Benzinga Pro. They run different specials just all the time, just each and every season. We'll basically say it's more seasonal that they do their promos. But Ryan Faluna, the fine folks over at Benzinga Pro, they're incredible. So if you contact them, they'll be able to give you a good rate. I don't think that we have as much a CTU student discount just yet. If you actually email the Benzinga Pro or support@benzinga.com, mention that you're a Cyber Trading University student, and actually, there you go. I just wrote a contact's name there for you, Phil. If you reach out to Benzinga, like support@benzinga.com, Ryan F. He's our contact over there. But either way, you'll be able to get all the monthly breakdowns that they provide. They have different memberships or whatever that they have as far as what they give you access to, the programs, the scans, etc. So, I will say, thankfully, I've had this via my relationship with Fausto and CTU. So I'm blessed to have this, but that's where I just am very transparent. It's not necessarily inexpensive. Everyone has their own thought on what expensive and inexpensive is, but it's the same to be said with Bookmap, right? It's not an arm and a leg, but it's not just $1. You know what I mean? So everyone's in different situations. Just reach out to Benzinga. They'll be able to give you a good breakdown on the price. All right. So that's Sam's question. Ended up going over the PRME trade. Let's actually check back in on UXIN. How did UXIN do? We talked about the thought of this trying to go up towards historical level off of 790. But at the time, we did say that it needed to make a move back over 737. And that was basically at the end of phase 2 class, right off of 1130 almost. Well, what happened since that time? Well, the stock held perfectly underneath resistance at 737 and dropped right back down. So it's not even that this played nasty and this was a little pop and drop after. This just held resistance perfectly after we finished up our class. We were saying the more times that it can crack it and test it, we are bound to get that stronger reaction. So whereas normally you're thinking reversals here, you should be more cautious. Well, let it play out. And the more retests that you do see and the stock is, still fighting and still showing higher lows, there was a good chance for this to try and be a better pop here, or at least the thought of it being one. And it just held perfect. It's too good. And then just dropped right back down. Let's get to an email question that came in just earlier this morning. So I don't know as much a question, just maybe a thought overall from one of our new trial members, George. One of the trial members and wondering how I can get the bid ask column or the big bid ask price columns I see on your chart. I use Fidelity Pro Trader, but doesn't have the option to see the orders on display from your chart. So, George, really quick, if you're tuning in right now, my friend, you're referring to this here on the far right, correct? Bid size, price, ask size, right? Like the orders here says yes. All right. Appreciate you joining us here live, George. And if you're not joining us live, you could always tune in on recording, and that's for any of our workshops going forward. So, even if he wasn't tuning in live, we would have went over this easily for him. And basically to mention, this is level 3. This is the TradeStation matrix, formerly known as. TradeStation doesn't call it level 3. That's kind of our slang, kind of our lingo for it. But this shows you every bid, every ask for the stocks that you're looking to try and follow. You got to subscribe to the right data and get the right data package for it. But otherwise, this is built directly into my platform. So just to mention out loud more to everyone else and not George, because George realized this at this point. Not every platform has this type of program, right? George is saying Fidelity Active Trader Pro. So I don't believe they have something exactly like this. They might have an advanced level 2. They might have an advanced market depth window. A lot of platforms now actually have that. Fidelity was actually one of the more early ones on that type of data, at least as well, but they don't have this. And that's all right. Most platforms actually don't have this. I would say TradeStation and Interactive Brokers are the two platforms that have what we would call level 3. Now, otherwise, though, if you're on Thinkorswim, then they have the program that we nickname Level 4. So Thinkorswim, you're in incredible hands with them. Otherwise, Interactive Brokers, TradeStation has this data here built in. Otherwise, though, if you're on any other platform, Fidelity is an awesome platform, by the way. As long as it's direct access, giving you the ability to see the real-time orders that are getting filled, not to say the real-time orders that are hanging out there, but the time and sales window, basically. And virtually any other mainstream broker platform, Fidelity, Webull, Trade Zero, Tradier, Quest Trade up north, whatever it is, you're throwing me list a couple more out there off the top of my head, but just to say, you're in good hands with them, but you would need to get the NASDAQ book viewer. You would need to go out and get the NASDAQ book viewer, which is what, again, we nicknamed level 3. That's the NASDAQ order book in full. It's right from the NASDAQ website. If you're inside our live trading room, at least. Whoops, misspelled that. If you're inside our live trading room, at least, I just wrote to you the website to go get the NASDAQ book viewer at the minimum, at the baseline minimum. If you don't have TradeStation or Interactive Brokers, or if you don't have Thinkorswim, you need to go out and get that. But otherwise, though, as long as you're able to see the icebergs. So for me, this is built into my platform, makes it easy for me to see. If you don't have TradeStation, as long as you have NASDAQ book viewer at the minimum, you're in good hands. Yeah, Bookmap, even better. Right now, though, you could even see real time, and I don't expect this to hold as support because normally on a pop and drop move like this, it'll just continue to eventually break lower. This will probably suffer the same fate that Prime just did before, where it continued to drop. So the UXIN trade, there's big support on the bid right now. As we're talking, 47,000 plus shares at 630. The stock is making a beeline to this order right now. So, with as much selling pressure as we have here, this is actually a great example for us to go over this very briefly. The last thing that you ever want to do is look to catch a falling knife. And when it comes to a stock that you're familiar with or a stock that you're not familiar with, like this one, you happen to see about a 46,000, nearly 47,000 just before share buy order out here at 630. So this looks good as support. And for as much as this stock moved earlier today, why not think it can hold here and bounce back up? It's possible, but just leaving a buy order out there, just expecting it to happen, just hoping for it to happen, you're not providing yourself the chance to go with upward momentum. And what I mean by upward momentum is you got to make sure the stock actually crashes under this level first, breaks through this buy order first. Because if there is enough bullish momentum, you're going to see it slingshot right back up. And from there, you're off and running. But if it breaks right under this order here, and then it just craps the bed and just instantly tanks down to 6, and you're left with a buy order at 631, just because you had your feet kicked up, you're hoping for support to hold, you're assuming for support to hold. It's a little catchphrase from the show I grew up on as a kid, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with Will Smith. If you're a Will Smith fan, that was his intro show that got him into stardom. But there was a quote that I heard a long while back from that show. It was a funny quote, but it was from his basketball coach back in the day. He's like, hey, you can't be making an assumption. When you make an assumption, you make an ass out of yourself. But even worse, the ump will shun you right out the door. I'll throw you right out the door. At the time, the studio audience, they all laughed, at least, and probably funnier when the ump said it compared to when I said it. But either way, you don't want to be left hanging. You want to be left catching a falling knife on a trade like this, especially with as steep of a downtrend as you're looking at here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens coming up on this. See if this ends up breaking below this iceberg or what. We'll keep our eyes on this just for a minute or so. All right. So real quick here, not a question. I appreciate you, Joyce, and everyone else otherwise that wished me well just with past week with hurricane. Thankfully, I was in a non-evac zone. Even if if it got to me at that point, right? You never know where the storm can hit. So technically, I was in a non-evac zone where I live in Largo, Florida. Man, let me tell you, when I'm like 2 miles away from seeing restaurants getting completely wiped out, it's scary. And I lived through Sandy, up in New York. Thankfully, I wasn't damaged there. I was out of power for like 11 days or 12 days, but we didn't get flooding my house, but I was more central Long Island. It's a little bit further to the shore from where I was living in Long Island to compare it to here. This is like a mile, 2 mile, 3 mile at most away. So seeing like restaurants and mobile home communities all together, and then just specific houses getting just ripped apart, it's horrible. So my heart and my prayers go out to anyone that got affected by the hurricane. I know a bunch of us were out of power for a little bit. I know that there's some of us are still out of power right now. Actually, a couple of people in North Carolina area, North Carolina students. So hopefully by later on today, we'll see hopefully a couple of them back in here. But otherwise, yeah, look what just happened. Look what just happened right now. It's just sliced right below that order, right below where that iceberg was. Looks like that iceberg got wiped away by a hurricane of its own. And right now, this thing does not look good. So that's the complete definition of trying to catch a falling knife. Make an ass out of yourself. Right. No, but otherwise, folks, I knew that Traders Talk today was going to be a little bit more skimpy today just because we have our phase 2 class today. Earlier this morning, we conducted it. And then actually later on today, we're going to be catching back up in class for our next, live class today. That'll be preparing for the market close. We just left off on class 11 here in the phase 2 stock course, preparing for the market open. That was essentially basically just a recap of the morning and what we ended up trading, what I ended up jumping into myself. I showed you my entries, my exits there. But otherwise, though, we got class later on today. It's basically a mini phase 3. We'll be reacting live towards the watch list that we'll be putting out in front of you. So it's basically as much of a live trading session later today as we can get. Not only that, but we actually have the phase 3 stock course lined up later on this week as well. So a lot of education. And a lot of trades to go through throughout the day today. So let me know if you have any other questions, folks, for us here. Once again, at Cyber Trading U, popping up on the lower left. Be a friend, tell a friend that we got a YouTube channel here. Always hit the follow or subscribe button right there. At Cyber Trading U, again, just on YouTube. Monday at noon, folks. Monday at noon, we do this live workshop, Traders Talk. It gives us really the best chance every week to break down why we're doing what we're doing. Inside our trading room, at least, it's kind of more based for call outs, based for actual trading. It's not based for teaching. It's tough to teach and trade at the same time. So here in Traders Talk, we have as good of an outlet as possible to try and get that done outside of our main curriculum, that is to say. All right, so here, as we wrap up, okay, so it began to push back up. If there is an opportunity for this to run, this would be it. This would be it pretty much coming up here. Now, the issue on the stock, though, is that it has a very thin book. Horrible book. Big spread. You got like 2 shares here. You got 5 shares here. That's not contracts. Those are real share size. So we just had, 20, however many thousand just a moment ago, 630. There's nobody else out here otherwise. It's a ghost town of an order book. So that's the real danger of doing this move anyway. There's a chance that this could work out now since it did break back over this level. You're going with the upward momentum, at least at this stage. But as we finish up Traders Talk, even if you're a trial member inside our room, I know George is with us here today. You got Mel joining us here today. Daniel, a few more just coming off of last week. This is where I'll kind of train you more in our classes, hopefully down the line with this. But for Abdul, Sam, Phil, Roger, I see joining us here. Alvin, I see joining us here. Joyce and Chris and all of us, that are students. Finish the sentence, folks. Finish the sentence. When a stock breaks through a big level, we jump in. What are we expecting shortly after? If this is such a big level, if there was such a big iceberg here, and this is doing what we're, hoping it could try and do, break back through this level on the way up, well, we should be expecting a big move shortly after, right? Joyce, Sam, Gillis, Lee, Margaret, Michael, Barbara, Charlene, Phil, Jeff, Grant, making me breathe. No, I'm kidding. Just to say, at least, though, you got to be expecting that big move shortly after. So if it's not doing it right now, if it's not coming up in the next 1 minute, 2 minute here, if it's not going to play nice at all from this point forward, then watch the hell out. Because this thing, was a nice mover from Friday last week. It was a big pop Friday. We traded it then. I think it even started from even just Friday the week before that. So, this thing was like $2 a couple weeks ago. Now it's at $7.50. You tell me. What happens when we see lower highs? What happens when support doesn't hold? We see lower low. So, there's a chance it could pop, but this needs to do it right now. It's got to go, ASAP. Otherwise, this thing's going to crash even more. All right, folks, with that, we are going to finish off at least here for Traders Talk. So hope you enjoyed. Again, every Monday, 12 o'clock Eastern, right here inside our live trading room, simulcast on YouTube, Facebook Live, etc. We'll be back inside our live trading room at least later on today. Again, that's where we invite you to join us inside our live trading room. Scan that QR code on the top left to join us for a week-long trial. We'll continue our audio just later on today, coming up at 2:30 Eastern. Take care.